What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jerome coming to you tonight with the review for How to Get Away with Murder Season 5, Episode number 15, better known as the season finale, also titled, Please Say No One Else Is Dead. So, without further ado, let's go on ahead and jump right into things. Alright, y'all, so this episode, it started with a flashback. So we see Little Nate when Xavier Castillo went to see him, and he was trying to talk Lil Nate into dropping Annalise, as his lawyer. And, Lil Nate was like, you know what, I've been in jail with a lot of con artists and stuff, and I can see right through your bullshit, basically. So, he tells him, you know what, I'm going to need you to get your little skinny ass up out of here and leave. So, and then as Xavier is getting ready to leave, he's telling Lil Nate that he's going to regret that. So then we see Laurel. She's with Annalise, Frank, Bonnie, and Nate. And Laurel is apologizing to Annalise. She says that she doesn't believe it's her brother, that she thinks it's her father who is, putting her brother up to this, I guess to say. And Annalise was just basically like going in on Laurel's ass. Like she was just reading Laurel her fucking rights. So then you got Frank over there. He's, defending Laurel and whatnot. And I'm like, Frank, shut up. And Annalise basically told him the same thing. Shut up. She's like, I didn't want to hire her in the first place, but it was your penis that, he helped me, convince me to hire this girl. Like, since, and Annalise was mad because, everything that's happened, she had nothing to do with it. And all Annalise wants is she wants out at this point. And I can't blame Annalise for wanting out because, again, all this shit, at the center of it, the Castillo family is the center of pretty much every fucking thing that has happened, pretty much, minus the stuff from the first few seasons with Sam and everything. But everything up until lately has centered around the Castillo family. So then at the kids' house, they are still looking at that bag that Laurel got last week with her mom's scalp and the hair in it, and they're trying to figure out what to do with the bag, and they're trying to they're just trying to figure out what to do with the bag. So then Laurel returns and they're like, well, what happened with Annalise? She's like, she hates me. Yes, Laurel, Annalise hates you. We all hate you. Like, through and through, we all just hate you pretty much. So then the next morning we see Asher, he is cooking, and then Michaela goes into the kitchen where he is. And they're talking, they're having a conversation with one another. And then out of nowhere, she gets a text from New West, and he wants her to come over. So then, we see Laurel. She is talking to Oliver and Connor, and Laurel has drawn up, legal guardianship papers for both of those two because she sees the love that they share for each other. She sees the love that they have for their moms, and she just wants them to be able, if something were to happen to her, she wants them to take care of Christopher. I'm like, okay, Laurel. I pray something does happen to Laurel. I really do. Because Laurel gets on my fucking nerves through and through. So then we saw New West and Michaela. She went to go see him. So he's telling her, that Clara wants him to find anything that he can on Annalise. And then he shows her that this file that Claire gave him. And in the file, it was, his mom's boyfriend, the one that Annalise said that he gave, his mom gave the drugs to. And so Michaela is reading it, and she was like, so did your mom give him the drugs? And, he got quiet. She said, did you do it? And, he's like, his mom doesn't know. And then, at this point, he kind of throws Laurel under the bus because he's talking about how Laurel went to meet with Claire Telesco, and how I guess when she was trying to make a deal, actually she was trying to figure out who it was that called her from that anonymous number. But we remembered that Telesco offered her the same immunity deal that she offered Annalise, but she just wanted information on Annalise. So then we see Michaela, she's going back to the house and she's screaming for Laurel to come downstairs. And, she's telling, they're like, why are you screaming, Michaela? And she said, I'll let Laurel tell you why I'm screaming. And she's like, you met with Telesco and, she offered you an immunity deal. And then, Laurel is talking about everything. And I'm just like, oh God, Laurel. Laurel gets on my motherfucking nerves. Like, I can't stand Laurel. But, and this time I was actually on Michaela's side, like Michaela, going on her ass. So then, Laura, like I said, Laura trying to give her side of the story. So then Laura goes and get that damn bloody blanket. Like, I could have, this is Miller's blood, and I could have took this with me to talk to Telesco, and I could have got myself a deal, and I'm a parent, and I'm this, and I'm like, Laurel, shut up. We don't give a fuck. Like, ugh. Laurel gets on my nerves. I would be so happy if somebody just slits Laurel's throat. That's all I want, somebody just to slit her motherfucking throat, because she gets on my damn nerves. Ugh. Can't stand Laurel. All right. So then in another scene, we see Laurel. She is finally burning that fucking blanket. I'm like, it's about goddamn time. So then Asher, he comes into the house and he has a save. I didn't understand any of that legal jargon that he was talking about. So in a nutshell, what he was saying is, so the bag that bag that Laura got last week with her mother's scalp, bloody scalp with the hair on it. What they want to do is they want to take it to the FBI. They want to present it to the FBI and basically say that Telesco, who was supposed to be in charge of the witness protection side with Laura's mom, she failed at her job, and the person that's in witness protection is now dead. And what that'll do is that'll get Telesco fired, and then she won't be able to bother New West anymore. So sounds like an easy save. Why did he have to come up with that? Because then Michaela, I think I might be jumping ahead of myself, so I'm gonna stop right. All right, so then we saw so I did leave something out. So not Michaela, but Laurel, she was saying no, not to turn that information into the FBI because she feels like she and Chris will be next. I'm thinking to myself, Chris is fine as long as you are next. We are fine. So then we see Asher. Asher is talking to the FBI and he's telling what they came up with, that they had this package came to them. It is Laurel's mom's scalp and blood and hair, and that Telesco didn't do her job in protecting her witness that was in the witness protection. So then I kind of gone out of order just a little bit, but I'm getting myself caught up. So we see Claire. She went over to New West's apartment. And, he says that, you set me up, and Professor Keating was, I'm sorry, y'all. Professor Keating was the one that's, protected him and saved him. And she's like, yeah, she owes you that because she killed your dad. No, the fuck, she did not kill him. And you don't have proof that she killed Sam. You don't know who the fuck killed Sam. So stop grasping at straws, bitch. Like, you don't know. So then, she handed him that file with his mom's ex, and then, the one, yeah. Okay. I'm getting myself turned around, but in a nutshell, what I was trying to say is Telesco handed him that file of his mom's ex, and I guess Telesco at this point was trying to use the file against New West by threatening his mom. I guess I really wasn't 100% understanding that, but she did hand him that fucking file. So next we see Annalise. She is meeting with the governor. She's telling the governor, like, look, I know that those phone records that you gave me of Emmis, they were fake. They were doctored by the Castillos, who also gave you the information about my adoption. And the governor is upset because she's being investigated by the FBI, and Annalise is like, I don't have nothing to do with that shit. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And then the governor is telling Annalise that she will turn over the phone records that she has to the FBI against Emmett. So then Annalise calls Tegan, and she's telling Tegan that no, actually scratch that. Tegan calls Annalise to tell Annalise that the feds are there to get Emmett, and Annalise says, what, it was the Castillos who did this, and Annalise wants Tegan to tell Emmett that we'll fix it and that she can prove it. But Tegan is like, what, I'm out, Annalise, because if I do that, then I'm next, and we can't have that happening. So then we see Annalise. She's going down to where Emmett is, and she's telling Emmett that she's his lawyer, and she's saying that Jorge is the one that set it up and how she has proof against that, and she'll get him out soon so that way he can run for a DA. All right, so next we see Frank, Bonnie, and Nate together. So Frank has this the call log from the burner phone that Miller had, and Frank believes that they can find that there has to be a number in there that is linked to Xavier. Well, Nate doesn't feel that way. Nate feels like at this point, they thought it was Miller, but he feels like Miller would have ratted out if he was working with Xavier. He feels like Miller would have ratted him out. So then we see a flashback, and it was Miller, and he was talking to Xavier, and Xavier was asking Miller, did he want to run for DA? So then we also see Xavier says that he has proof that Annalise was the one who killed Denver, and then they start talking about Lil Nate, and so I guess Miller was in fact working with Xavier, from what this is showing us, but might not be the case. So then we see Frank, he's talking to Bonnie, and he's saying that Annalise sold Emmett, and she's Bonnie says she feels like Nate is right, that those numbers are not linked to Xavier, and how he was not that Miller was not planning to kill Lil Nate, and how she feels like they were wrong because he was with her, because when those phone calls were made, she's saying that he was with her when she went to see her sister. So then we see another flashback, and this is Bonnie and Miller having a phone conversation, and I think this was when Bonnie was trying to find out if her son was still alive, and he was asking her did she want to still find out. And then they stopped that conversation, and he went over he started talking about running for DA, and while he was talking about running for DA, he's having a drink, and you can clearly see that he's visibly in his feelings about something. So then once he disconnects the phone call with Bonnie, he goes over to the burner phone, and he does call Xavier. And I'm like, oh shit, Miller, so you actually were behind this. Like, what the fuck? So then we see Nate. So Nate is meeting with the warden in the parking garage, and he says that the footage that the warden gave Bonnie was to cover his own ass. And he asked the warden, was Xavier involved at all? And he's like, who? He says Miller was the only person they called me. Miller was trying to get me to do a transfer at night, and that's something that we don't we don't typically do. And he was like, I caved, and I gave him what he wanted, which was a night transfer. So then we see Bonnie. She gets a call from Nate saying that he's in jail, and because he had a little scuffle with the warden, and how he says that Miller forced the warden to do a night transfer. And then Bonnie texts Annalise. She's saying that Nate was arrested, and so she's still with Emmett at this point. And then the FBI comes in, and she's telling them that she has surveillance footage, she has security footage of Xavier at the prison talking to Lil Nate, and she also, if that's not enough to let her client go, she also has the cell phone records, which are fake and were doctored by the Castillos. So then they tell Emmett that they're concerned about his choice in attorney, and he was like, why? And then they start playing that recording that they found in his office of Annalise talking about how she, what she said last week about, looking Emmett in his eye because she felt like he was the one that killed Lil Nate. And I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. Okay. So then we see Annalise, she calls Tegan. She wants Tegan to go down there to be with Emmett, and because she can't defend him because of the conversation that they had. And Tegan says, she said that she'll go because she was reluctant at first, but then she said she'll go. And then we see Annalise. She goes and talks to Nate, and she tells Nate that she doesn't want Nate to end up like his dad, because so far Nate has been in trouble with the law because of violence in the same manner that his dad was. And she says if he keeps using his fists, that they're all going to wind up in trouble, which I definitely agree with that. Nate needs to calm the hell down. Now, the one time he did it, it was to throw the FBI off his trail when it came to Miller. But now it's just like Nate is just doing it, impulsively. So I definitely agree with where Annalise was coming from. So then we see Tegan. She is with Emmett at the FBI office. And, the FBI is like, when we're talking about Annalise, being questionable, we also meant her as well. And Tegan is like, well, I'm not here to represent him. I'm here to make make a statement, and basically to prove that the Castillos are the ones who doctored everything. And she's talking about how she's Jane Doe, and he looks at her like, I know you lying, like the fuck. And basically, Tegan is putting her reputation online because she can be disbarred for everything that she's doing. And then the FBI is like, well, the Castillos don't have a reason to want to frame you. And he says, oh, but they do. He says, because I'm running for DA, and they know with me that they can't have me in their back pocket like they've had everybody else in Denver, and they tried to have Miller in their back pocket. I'm not easily bought. So that is why the Castillos are trying to come after you guys. So this next scene I was a little bit confused about, because we saw Frank in the back seat of that the guard who killed Lil Nate. And I was confused because he had, he was choking her, and I kept hearing him say, say it was Xavier who paid you. So was he trying to threaten her to say that Xavier was the one who killed, was Xavier the one who paid her to say that, what all happened with Lil Nate? I was really confused by that scene. So then we see Frank, he's talking to Annalise about the guard and why they should believe her. He says that she's telling the truth. And he says she's very convincing, and he believes her. But he's telling Annalise that they need to find out. They need to dig more, and I was confused by that. So then we see Annalise. She calls Laura, and she asks her, is she ready to fix it? And Laura's like, what are you talking about? So then we see her. She's meeting with her brother, and Annalise was there with her. So then we see, they're, like I said, they're together. And Xavier is trying to tell Laura that he feels like Annalise is putting Laura up to everything that she's doing, and she's brainwashing Laura. And then they talk about her mom and how him burning her house and whatnot. And then Xavier's talking about, well, I hadn't heard from mom in months, but you, on the other hand, you had saw her, you had talked to her, you were also the last person to see her alive. And she was like, yeah, but she was warning me against you and Dad. Which that family is completely fucked up. Poor Christopher. He was born into a crazy ass family. Yeah. So then we see Oliver and Connor. They are bonding with little Christopher. And did Christopher say dad to Connor? I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So then we move back over to Annalise them, and Annalise wants to know what Xavier offered Miller. She was like, you offered him to be DA, didn't you? But he played your ass, right? So then we have a flashback. So we see Xavier, he wanted for the transfer to take place on Thursday morning. So then we see everything kind of coming full circle at this point. We see Miller. Miller is talking to the warden. That's where he was begging and pleading the warden to move Little Nate at night, so that way he can avoid this everything that happened up until this point. So Annalise was reading the dog shit out of Xavier. She was like, yeah, you lost this round, boo, and I gave the FBI all the information, so you might as well turn your sorry ass in. And I'm like, read him, Annalise, like, go in on that ass. So then we see, once Annalise and Laura leaves, we see him make a phone call. And who did he make a phone call to? It was the governor. So the governor has been behind this the whole fucking time, but the bitch is playing like she didn't have anything to do with it, which I never trusted that bitch from day one. I knew it was something off about her. So then towards the end of the episode, we see Asher. He returns to celebrate with Connor and Oliver, but those two are in a down mood. And he's like, what the hell is going on? He's like, please tell me no one else is dead. But they said no, that they found out who Michaela's birth father is, and they say what his name is. And they say, he was like, he said something. Is he dead or something like that? I forgot what he said. But he said, they said, well, shit, once Michaela finds out, she's not going to be happy because Annalise knows who her dad is. And I'm like, oh shit, like, so was that story, I wonder if that story that Michaela was telling was true. So then we see Michaela, she goes over to tell New West that Claire was fired, and then, they start kissing, and, I guess those two are going to be with each other. Oh, fuck. So then we see Claire, she's packing up her stuff, and before she packs up her stuff, she calls, New West's mom, and I'm like, oh, this bitch is not going down without a fight, is she? Ugh. All right, so then we see Governor Burkhead. Governor Burkhead is doing a press conference, and she's saying that the allegations against her by the FBI are not true. And then we also see Bonnie. She is having a conversation with that guard, and the guard is saying that she was being threatened by someone, and how Miller was the one that called the hit. So then we have a flashback to when Frank was in the car with her. So Frank is telling her that he wants her to say that well, no. We see a conversation with Frank and Annalise, and then we see Frank telling Annalise that Miller was actually, in fact, innocent. And Annalise just does not want for Bonnie or Nate to know that he was innocent. So then we see Frank. He's telling the guard that he wants her to say that it was Miller, and he wants her to call Bonnie and confess to Bonnie and ask Bonnie for a deal. So then we see the governor. She's talking about how this is fake news, a play on your dumbass president. But she says the FBI has a person of interest, and she says that the person of interest is Emmett. So then we see Tegan and Annalise. They are on the phone with one another, and Tegan is telling Annalise that that the governor has pointed fingers at Emmett. So then we see Emmett. He was upstairs, and we see the glass that he was drinking out of is on the floor, and we see Emmett on the floor, grasping at his chest, and his eyes are bucked and his face is red. And they disconnect that phone call, and then Annalise starts to look around, and there's no Laurel, and she's screaming for Laurel's name. And then we see Frank. He's at the kid's house, and he's rushing in there trying to, he's like, "Where's Chris?" And like he's upstairs, like they had the baby cam, the baby cam, and baby Chris was in his crib, but Frank runs upstairs, and baby Chris is not in his crib. Someone put it on a loop to make it appear as if he was in his crib. So the season ends with Laurel and baby Chris. They are missing. So I guess that's gonna be the big thing of next season. But that was How to Get Away with Murder. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys, for How to Get Away with Murder. I will see you guys in September for season 6 of How to Get Away with Murder.